Hello there, I am Dr. Michelle Alden. Today I want to talk to you about if you sent your child to residential treatment and what you can do to protect your investment. So what do I mean by residential treatment and what do I mean by protecting your investment? So residential treatment is when children or youth are sent out of the home. Most of the time it's because of aggression, the inability to keep them from running away. There are residential treatment centers for drug and substance use, but most of the time I'm talking to parents that are dealing with behavior problems that were happening in the home, and so it became impossible to continue to have their child at home. And this is a real option for a lot of families, and it's what a lot of families will look at doing to protect themselves, to protect everyone else in the home. So no judgment about that. Like it can be a totally necessary part of treatment for some youth. And I know that there's some adults that say, yeah, I was sent to treatment when I was a kid and it helped turn me around. And that is great and wonderful. And I actually did my doctorate dissertation on why it's so important, even when kids are sent away, to work with the family and to help the family to protect the investment of the time and the money that was spent sending their child away. So if they learned coping skills, and if you had family therapy during that time when they were away, maybe you did it through Zoom, or you went there several times and had family therapy with your child at the residential treatment center. Those are two really key things that I think are part of residential treatment that I look for. If the residential treatment center has those things that they're teaching, that's great. It's wonderful. We know from the research that it works, and usually within the first 6 months, we know whether it's going to be really effective or not. Some residential treatment centers go on the treatment plan goes for a lot longer, and a lot of that has to do with how your kid is progressing while they're in treatment. But they need about 6 months of really progressing well and doing well in the program. However, the research also shows that when they come back home, that it takes less than 6 months in most cases for the kids to slip back into those other behaviors. It may not be as aggressive or violent. Sometimes it's more and sometimes it's less. And sometimes kids are in residential treatment long enough that that period of time that they're home is not very long before they're 18, and so other problems can ensue. They may go from residential treatment to being home to being in detention or some kind of correctional facility. As they get older, the consequences of what's happening are more about protecting society and protecting the family than it is about rehabilitation. So this time period when kids are in residential treatment, I think, is a really critical time, both in the family and in the child's life. So in my program, I've worked with a lot of families that have kids that are coming back from treatment, and I love to start working with the parents right before the kids come back. So this is considered a step-down program, so they don't go from residential treatment and then back into your home, basically the way things were. And if you've been working with a really good residential treatment center, you've had family therapy, so you've probably made some changes and you're looking forward to the way it's going to be different. You may be extremely nervous as well. I work with a lot of families that are really worried about this kid coming back into their home. There's other siblings that you're concerned about, and maybe for some families this has just been a time of peace and healing and rebuilding, and you haven't really prepared for it to be different. I feel like there is a lot of emphasis put on the child changing. And if you have ever made really big changes in your life and then gone back into a similar environment and tried to hold on to those changes, it is really, really difficult. Whether it's dieting or your own substance use or any kind of habits, when you are surrounded by the familiar or what you're used to, it's very easy to slip. The other thing that I think is important to keep in mind with coping skills and the things that your kids learn at treatment, and I want to encourage you as a parent to not think that this treatment didn't work, because I see that happening. It's like, oh, they didn't help my kid, or they didn't do it. But there's a leveled approach at treatment, and the kids learn certain things there. But with executive functioning issues, which most of our kids that we're talking about, if they have ADHD, if they have autism, even if they're higher functioning, their brain is not wired to take what they learned in one situation, like in a group, and even though they may have had conflict in those groups and things like that, and problems and meltdowns and all of that, and then take that and apply it in this whole other situation. That is a really difficult thing for kids to do. So when you're looking at your child coming home from residential, or you're looking at what residential treatment to put them in, yes, I want you to make sure that you know what they're going to be teaching the kids, the coping skills, and keep track of how they're doing with all of that. And you kind of want it you want there to be enough pressure for change to happen that there are things they have to work on there. If they're just if it's not a leveled program and the kids are not working on making those changes, and there's not expectation of those changes, then you probably need a higher level of care, or something that's going to be a little bit more productive. Some of the wilderness programs and things like that have been really helpful with our kids, because they're very hands-on. They're learning those things. They're in a highly difficult situation, and so they're learning those things. I have some concerns about residential treatment, about abuse and things like that. So for sure, you want to make sure you do your homework on where you send your kids. But for the most part, I feel like they have their place and necessity in our kids' lives. There are some families that you really need that break. The kid needs the break, and they need to learn these skills. What I'm concerned about is when they come back with the skills that they learned, even if you're aware, like most kids will come back with a plan for when they come home, how they're going to use those skills. And so you may have awareness, like it says right here on the list that when you get angry like this, you're going to breathe, or you're going to take a break in your room. It doesn't say anything that you're going to go to your room and you're going to put more holes in the wall, or that you're going to, hurt one of your siblings while you're in this rage, or, all of the things that were happening before can tend to start to happen again. Sometimes as late as 6 months into it. So you might have 6 months of a kind of a welcome back honeymoon period. But for a lot of kids, I'm hearing that it's like 10 days and things start to go back. So you want to make sure that you have something in place. I like kids to come back and do our 12-week program, because it's a leveled program as well. They're already used to the amount of supervision that they have at residential. So to come back into your home and have the level of supervision that we require, and it's geared towards you as the parents. So we're not, the thing with residential or at school or all the places where your kids might not have these same problems that they're having at home, is they have a whole team of people. So we understand with our program that it's you as the parents, and a lot of times a single parent, but even, two parents, you don't have a whole team at your disposal. So we have this program set up so that you can help the child to use these skills that they've already been using for weeks and months, and now they're going to use those same skills in the home, and you're going to know how to help guide them through that, so that we don't lose ground. That's, I think, the important thing, is that we don't want to lose ground. We don't want to wait and see, well, I think they're better, we'll just see what happens. By the time they get to where they were before, or the problems are more intense, it's going to be a late for the wait and see, and it's going to be late coming in and doing something, and then you're going to feel like we've tried everything and nothing works. No, it's working. You just need to know how to help to build that around your kids. So the other thing that I want to talk to you about is family therapy. Most residential treatment centers, at least the ones that I look at, that I recommend, they have some kind of family therapy program. They may even offer, follow-up therapy, where you're weekly talking to the counselor. Now your child's at home and you're talking to the counselor, or maybe they have counseling with the counselors that they had at treatment. I see a lot of kids are very bonded with the kids that they were in treatment with, so parents will try to, keep those relationships going. But again, you have a kid with executive functioning issues and applying what they learned there, what it was like in treatment. And sometimes it becomes very rosy, right? Well, in treatment, I didn't have these problems, or this is my best friend, or this happened or that happened. So I want to caution you, because treatment is not reality. That's not real life. That's not what they're going to come back and do. They're going to come back and be in their schools, and they're going to be in your home, and they're going to be building relationships in their family. And if you have kids with attachment issues, rebuilding those family relationships is critical, because that's where the point of pain really is. So it's probably a whole nother video to talk about adopted kids and residential treatment and attachment issues, and why they do so well in residential and yet struggle so much at home. At home is where a lot of the problems are, and that's where the big issues of conflict are. Because if it's only problems at school, a lot of times we don't necessarily look for residential treatment. We look for a better school or a stronger school system. We can, work with systems in our community. But when kids are sent away from home, it's because the problems at home usually are so great. Not all the time, but a lot of the times there's an inability to keep everyone safe, to keep the child safe. And so we need to have this extra treatment, which I'm, again, not against. I just want you to be able to preserve the time investment and the money investment that you've had in your child being in treatment. So you're going to want to protect the family unit, and having a family program that deals specifically with what's happening in the family, that doesn't pitch you against your kids, right? Like if they have a counselor that they went to treatment with, that helped them through that, they are going to tell you that the only person they trust and that the only person that understands them or gets them is this other person that's way outside of where your family is. And I have a problem with that, because I feel that it's critical that we have trust and relationships with the people that are right here in our families. And those are some of the hardest relationships to preserve and have. There may be things that you as a parent need to learn how to do differently. And it's hard to just read a book or go to a class once a month, or go to family counseling and make those changes. You need that ongoing support that you get through a really good step-down program like the Healthy Foundations Family Program can be. The results are phenomenal, and the change becomes long-lasting. It really becomes that residential treatment was the turning point, because they come from residential back into your home, which we have set up kind of like residential treatment, but with you as the parents guiding that, and the trust that is built between you and your kids is huge, and it's long lasting. Because remember that we are part of our families long after we turn 18. So this treatment may be up until they're 18, or whenever the insurance says that's enough, or whatever it is, but now we have family life and we have to move forward. And I don't want you to have to look at multiple stays or going back to things that worked at the time. I want you to be able to take what was gained and to be able to move forward. So I just want to encourage you to go to our website, Healthy Foundations. Oh, sorry, that was the old website. It is parentingchallengingkids.com, and look at our 12-week program. It is an amazing step-down program for kids that are coming out of residential treatment. It's a great program if you're thinking about sending your kids to residential treatment. In the state of Idaho, it is required that kids go through a program like ours before they can even qualify to go. And so a lot of times they don't need to go to residential, so you can use this program before. It deals with the aggression and the violence and the chaos and all of things that are happening, but it helps you to make those changes in your family. But for sure, if you have invested in having your child away from home in any kind of treatment, you want to have them come back in the best possible situation, so that you as a family can continue to grow and move forward. Thank you so much for listening today. Like and subscribe. Share this with anybody you know that is struggling, that is maybe has their kids in treatment or is thinking about having their kids go to treatment. And just know that there is help out there, and that we want to make it better for you and for your kids, and we want to see your family to be the best that it can be.